All right, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us for another Votacall One webinar. Hey, I'm Kyle. I'm a project manager here with Votacall. I onboard brand new customers. I see some familiar names here and some new names, so thank you everybody for joining us. And with us is Dan. Hi, Dan.
Hello there. My name is Dan. I am currently living in a leaf blower whirlwind, and I apologize for what's happening outside. I'm referred to as Dan the phone man around here, and I've worn a lot of different hats over the years, currently servicing our sales department as a sales engineer. So thank you again for coming to everybody who's here. And again, I too see some familiar faces. So we can never say thanks enough for you guys coming and paying attention to this stuff as we try to provide you just a little knowledge of the phone system. We appreciate you taking the time out of your day. So Kyle, back to you.
Fantastic. All right. So
I'm going to mute the leaf blowers. Just one sec.
All right. Well, we'll give folks just a couple more minutes to join. We're going to go over a few housekeeping items. In the bottom right corner of your screen, you're going to see a questions tab. As we go through, if you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to submit your questions. Only Dan and I can see your questions. We'll do our best to answer questions as we go through, but we'll take time at the end, of course, to address them. And right next to that questions tab is a polls tab. We will hope for everybody to hop over there in that polls tab to let us know what you want to learn more about. And we'll be back next month with another Votacall One webinar. And just one last reminder is that we like to remind folks that these webinars aren't so much a training, but more or less showing you the capabilities of the Votacall One system. As we go through, if you see anything that piques your interest and you want to have more in-depth conversation or schedule time for a training, feel free to submit an email to support@votacall.com. Let us know you saw the webinar and you want to have a conversation or a training, and we'll schedule time to make that happen. So what are we going over today? So we're going to go over the call center supervisor portal. Back in August, we did a portal overview for the basic user, which everybody is a basic user. Then last month, we went over the call center agent portal, which is just an additional view on top of the basic user. Therefore, this month, we're doing the call center supervisor portal, which again is just additional view permissions on top of the basic user. So what we're going to do today is we're going to hop in the portal. We're going to show you around the call center supervisor portal. We're going to show you some of the features. We'll show you some tips and tricks. Then we're going to throw up a slide at the end to show you some links to some resources and training materials. All right, let's get started. So why use the My Votacall portal? Because access is everything. I think it's pretty important. Your phone system is more than just a phone. But Dan, do you have anything you want to add to this one?
Sure thing. Thanks, Kyle. Yeah, I mean, beyond the marketing jargon of the idea of access is everything, which is something that we truly do believe in. We are, well, as you know, the Votacall One Solution is one license, and it provides you with access to any of our features, right? So anything that you have, that we have built into the platform, whether that's call recording or in this case, supervisor. Last month, we did one on being an agent in a call center. And then the month before, we showed the portal for just an end user perspective. Today, we're going to focus on supervisor. So that is built into the solution, right? And actually, there's a question coming in here just asking me about, is there a cost for supervisor? And the answer to that is no. That's actually what we're going through right now. You know, the idea here is that, you know, you have access to all of these things. And so that's why you want to use the portal. The portal is kind of like your home base where you're going to go and launch. Now we have multiple different views, and that's what we've been doing these trainings on so that people could start to understand the features that are there for you. And again, thank you guys for attending and coming and taking a look at this, because now what we get to do is, you know, hopefully get the thoughts moving, the juices flowing for you guys so that you feel comfortable with, you know, with what it is that Votacall has to offer. But so access is everything. Having access to, and you'll see lots of stuff in just a minute. Kyle's going to show it to you. So, all right, Kyle, back to you. I'm gonna mute my my leaf blowers again.
All right. So how do we access everything? We're gonna log into the portal, which is available at myvotacall.com. All right, so when you log into the portal at myvotacall.com as a call center supervisor, what do you have access to? So as a supervisor, you have access to, for agent and queue management, and we'll show you what that looks like shortly. You can add queue entrance and comfort messages. This is my favorite, is live call monitoring and coaching of your call center agents. You'll have access to call recordings. You'll have access to agent and queue statistics and reporting. There's also call notes and disposition codes, and there's also vision analytics boards, which is also one of my favorites. And we're actually going to hop into the portal now and go through these items. So I'm going to turn off my camera and share my screen. I'll be back shortly, I promise.
And while Kyle's doing that, everybody, please don't forget, we can to fire some questions off. I want to say thanks to Barbara for firing that first question off to us about cost. I mean, this is pretty helpful. If you have a question, somebody else is probably thinking the same thing. So by all means, fire away. Nobody can see them except for us, so that's a good thing. And so please do that. And if you get a chance, the polls are obviously we want to make sure that we take some time to show you guys the things that you want to hear about. So by all means, fill in that poll when you get a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so here we are at the sign-in page of the myvotacall.com portal. We're going to start off with one quick tip here is you can obviously sign in with a username and password, but the tip here is there's also single sign-on options. So since we use O365 here, I'm going to sign into my single sign-on option. I'm going to click on my Microsoft account here, and where my email address is associated to multiple users within the Votacall system, I have the option to select which user I want to log into the portal as. So for today's purposes, I'm going to log in as our call center supervisor user. And we're going to end up on our call center supervisor landing page. So right here, right off the bat, you're going to have all access to your call queues, your agents, any active calls, reporting, analytics boards. So let's take a look at these. So here's the two queues that I'm currently a supervisor of. If there's any active calls, I'd see those active calls here. I'd be able to click on the number and see the active calls. I'd actually also have a listen in button here so I can listen in and do that coaching, which I'm going to show you here in just a few moments. If there are any callers waiting in the queues, you could actually select which agent you wanted that call to go to as well. Here you'll see the agents that are idle or who are assigned to the queues. If I click on the Edit Agents button, you'll see our 3 agents here. And if I wanted to adjust the users within this queue, I can remove users. So I can hit the X button here to remove this particular user. Or if I wanted to add another agent to the call queue, I can click Add Agent and either enter in their extension number or their name. And then I would hit Save Agent. You can also adjust the agent's settings too. So if I hover over this Edit Agent button, I can then provide set up a wrap-up time for the agents. So for example, this one's set up for 30 seconds. So whenever this particular user hangs up a call, they then have 30 seconds to make notes or do any sort of documentation before they're automatically available back in that queue for the next available call. You can adjust the max simultaneous calls as well, but typically in call centers, users always want that set to 1. So that's how you can manage the agents within the queue. Let's take a quick look at the queue management. So if I wanted to adjust settings for this particular
Kyle, before
queue,
you jump into that, I just wanted to say we did get a question in, and the question was, I don't see this view.
Good question.
So that it probably looks more, across the top. You don't see the call center potentially or the agents. You're probably looking at the personal view. And that just means, again, the permission itself to be a supervisor has not been assigned to you. So it's good to note that when we assign, when the office manager, that's the highest level we have, when that person assigns you the permission to be a supervisor, and you get that, there are some settings that can go in there so that we can limit who you can see, what departments you can see, who you have the ability to monitor, add into queues, etc. So those are all set at a permission level. And so, it sounds to me, Zoe, like you're not set up for that. So what we'll do is we'll reach out after this. And by the way, folks, at any time you can email support@votacall.com and for this kind of assistance. But Zoe, we'll reach out after this is done, and we can have a conversation and start to take a look at how to get you set up. So thanks, Kyle.
Yep, thank you, Dan. All right, so here's where you can adjust settings for the particular queue. So we took a look at the agent settings. So we're gonna click this edit queue button, and here's where you can set the way that the queue rings, whether it's in a round robin, tiered round robin, ring all, linear. You can set how long you want the queue to ring for, and here's where you can set the final destination. So if a call comes into that particular queue and no agent answers that call, where should that call go to? So you can set in an extension for a voicemail, auto attendant, and some callers also have answering service. So you can put the number for the answering service in there as well. Down here, you'll see, oh, perfect. This is my favorite one. So you're going to see that Dan is currently on a call. So what I want to show you is the listen, coaching, and the ability to actually fully participate in an agent call. To do this, I have to have the web phone open. So I'm going to open up my web phone here. And now that my web phone is open, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to hover over Dan, and I'm going to click on this. I'm going to have to restart that call, Dan. Sorry.
That's okay, Kyle. Yeah, you just need to have the a phone active in order to.
Yep. All right. So now I would like to click that listen button.
Kyle, that's me. So hang on a second. I just, but I'm not active. Okay, I'm active on the call now.
Yep, I see that. All right, perfect. Now we can monitor the call. All right. So now I just click that listen button. I'm going to come back here to my web phone. You'll see that I'm actually partaking in that call. I have the ability to whisper and coach to Dan, or I can fully participate and join the call. So right now I'm just in a listen mode. So if I wanted to whisper to Dan and do some coaching, I can click this whisper button. And then now I have the ability to go back to listen only, or I can fully jump in and join that call and assist that call center agent. So that is one of my favorite tools there. I'm going to come back over here and hang up that call. So that's how we can listen and coach. Yes, Dan?
And Kyle, we had a question there that came in. Felipe would like to know, can you do that from a phone? And the answer to that is yes, right? So there is a code that you can use to barge in on a call. Again, we're here more to show you the portal. We like to think that there's a lot of useful tools in here. But if you did just need to use a handset, then that is available to you. Okay.
Yep,
a great
absolutely.
question. Thank you.
Yeah. So here's where we can access our call center reporting. So I'm going to click on reports here. And now we can pull data on the queues and the agents. So we're going to land on the queue stats button. And you can look historically as well. So you can set the time frame to a certain week or day that you want to research and look at the data for. As you set those parameters, you'll see that the data refreshes down here. And there's all these table settings across here too. So if you're not sure what these table settings mean, you can hover over the information bubble and it'll give you a brief definition of what these tables mean. You can adjust your tables too as to what you want to see here. So you can click on table settings and select if you want to see, how many calls went to voicemail, how many callbacks there were, and so forth. So as you click and adjust them, you click away and you'll see those table settings automatically appear here, and it refreshes and adds those there for you too. If you want to see call volume and raw data, you can click on these numbers here that are blue and see the actual information. So I'm going to click on the 4 there, and you'll see the 4 calls that came in, the call they came from, who they spoke to, the duration. Another neat little tool here too is that you can see the cradle to grave. So you can see exactly what happened when that call came in. You see that call came into the queue. It rang the training supervisor, and the training supervisor ended up answering that call, and then they end up hanging up. So neat little tool there. So we're going to come back to our queue stats, and we're actually going to take a look at the agent stats. Now you can report on your agent activity and your agent performance. You'll see all your call center agents down here. You can see their calls handled, total talk time, average talk time, etc. You can also hit the table settings once again and add certain table settings that you want to see. So we'll see, how many outbound attempts to how many outbound answers there were, and you can compare that. So this is a great way to gauge your agent performance. Why did Frank take 10 calls, or why is Joe only taking 1 call? They've been in queue the same amount of times. Joe's missed 3 calls. Do we have a training concern there? Another great tool here is agent availability. So here's where you can see when agents are logged into the queue, when they're logged out. So the green will tell you when an agent's logged in. This one looks like Kyle, me, logged out for lunch at this time, logged back in, logged out for break, logged back in. You'll see Dan's been on a very long extended lunch here. But it's another great tool to gauge, again, performance. Hey, we saw you logged in the queue for this amount of time. You're only taking 5 calls. Or why are you on lunch for 16 hours? You can also see dialed number stats. So you're going to see, how many calls actually came into the queues. Again, you can click on the blue numbers to see the raw data. And of course, you have an abandoned calls stat. Abandoned calls are when calls come into the call queue, but the caller hangs up before you actually have a chance to assist them. You can also create and schedule email reports as well for this reporting. So if I click email reports here, I can, select what type of report I want. Maybe I want a summary and I want an agent report. I can set that frequency as to when I receive that. So say if I want to receive it weekly, Friday at 5 o'clock sounds like a great time. I'll click the next button, and by holding down Control, you can select which of these stats that you want to see appear on your report that gets emailed to you. It'll automatically send to your email address since you're the user if you click Save, but you can add additional email addresses. Make sure you select the attached CSV so you get that Excel spreadsheet with the data and click Save. And then next thing you know, on Friday at 5 o'clock, you'll get your report in Excel spreadsheet. You'll be good to go. Let's hop over here. We're going to take a look at the Vision Analytics boards. This is a great little tool as well. If I click on this blue button here, it's going to open up in a separate window. And by default, everybody will have this agent stock board. You'll see that there's this one set up for the last rolling 8 hours. This is last rolling 2 weeks. We can see a stat as how many calls were handled, average talk time. You can set up different types of graphs to see the data as well. And here you'll see the agents that are in your queues and their availability as well. You can create custom dashboards, which I actually created a custom one for basically, what I consider a supervisor view. So if I come over here and click my supervisor board that I manually created, and you can as well, and we'll probably do a separate webinar specifically on the Vision Analytics boards here. But you'll see I created a card for my queues and a card for my agents. Both of these I set as rolling 24 hours. So this thing will just keep up to date within the last 24 hours. You can also create static boards too. So say if I wanted to see a board for September, October, November, and December, you can pre-create those boards and they'll automatically update as the days go by, and you'll see your basically your static data for that time period that you set. You'll see my call queue. I can see my agents available, active calls, calls waiting, wait time, the call volume, and same for my agents down here. So at a quick glance, you can see as a supervisor, your agent performance and your queue performance as well.
Looks like Kyle, we had a question come in. Yeah. So Carol had asked, can you get data for past dates as well? And the answer is yes. So the boards themselves, the agent boards that we were just in, those can show you past data, as well as the reporting. So if you come into here, you can scan back for as long as you've had the system. Really, you can go pull data if you need to. I hope that answers the question. Thank you, Carol.
Yep, excellent. So you can also come over here back to the call center reporting, set the date parameters. Obviously trying to pull some historical data, so I might spin for a minute. But we're going to hop over here to our call history tab. I'm going to show you a couple additional items here, such as call recordings, disposition notes, and call notes. I think I got it hung up here for a minute, so we'll give this a second to catch up. I think a big question that we should probably kind of clarify too is what makes a call system, what makes a phone system a call center versus not a call center, Dan?
It's an interesting question. People hear us talk about call centers a lot. Okay. And we talk about agents and queues and supervisors, and folks say, well, we're not a call center. We don't do any of that. And I think it's important, as we've been going through these trainings, what we've learned is we need to let people know, if you have a group of phones that rings at any one given time, that's really a call queue, right? So anything that you use that for, it might be for sales, for incoming sales calls. It might be, it might be for someone who's taking appointments at a doctor's office. Now, traditionally, you don't view the person at the front of a doctor's office as an agent, but they are really, and they probably have a supervisor. The other thing is that, you can make all of your, you can put all of your salespeople, even if they're outbound, in a calling group, and then you can go run reports on them. So you can see how many calls did they make outbound, how many calls did they receive in, how many times did they connect. So even though the names of these are call centers, or queues or supervisors, and you don't really think you fall into that, you do in a lot of ways. It's just so everybody really is a call center. Because everybody needs metrics, and that's really what we're providing here, is just metrics. Okay. Perfect. Kyle, the one thing we didn't really go over, and I'm hoping that we can, was when we were looking at queues, we didn't really touch on the custom music on hold.
Yep. We'll hop back over there in just a second. So let's get there now. So, yeah. So on the call queues tab, so as you saw on the call center tab, we can manage the call queues. This is the same exact thing. So you can click on the call queue to set up the same settings. You'll see the same exact screen as we saw, where you can set up the type and the ringing. Same here with the agents. You can edit and add or remove your agents from the screen too. But what Dan was just mentioning is that we can add comfort and intro greetings and messages to the call queues as well. So if I click the music on hold button next to this queue, you then can create introduction announcements, an automated wait announcement, and custom comfort messages too. So we added a custom introduction message there. You'll see a little timer here. So we have this timer set for 15 seconds, which means as soon as you enter this queue, it's going to play the intro greeting. After 15 seconds, it'll play the wait announcement. And after another 15 seconds, it's going to play this comfort message. And then make sure you don't forget to ask us about how you can get a Votacall hat. If I wanted to add a custom greeting, I'm going to click Add Message here. And here's where you can see if you want to interject a wait status update, then you can have it do either one of these options or both. You can have it say the estimated wait time or current queue position. But here's where you can use our text-to-speech optimization, enter in, either an intro announcement or a comfort message, type in whatever you want to say, select that voice, and click save. And therefore, it'll play those intro messages, the wait announcements, and your comfort messages. Next thing I want to show over here under the call history is as a supervisor, you have access to the calls that come into the queues. You have the ability to download a recording or listen to the recording right from here from the portal if you have call recording enabled on the agents and call queues. And here's where you can see the have access to the notes and disposition codes. So what those are is when an agent ends a call, they can then add a disposition code and a note to their call. So if I click on this one here, you'll see this one has a disposition code of demo scheduled. So if I click on this notes button, you'll see that the disposition tells us there's a demo scheduled and a call scheduled for Friday at 1 p.m. for the demo. If I want to add a disposition code or a note to a call, you see this one doesn't have any. I can come over to this call, click Add Notes, select a disposition. We'll say this was voicemail. Got voicemail. We'll call back Tuesday at 4. And then click save. So that's disposition codes and reporting, and you can actually report on these as well. So you can see, what calls come in for what particular reasons. That's absolutely valuable information for any organization.
Just a quick note there for everybody. If you don't see disposition codes, if you are a supervisor and you don't see them, those actually do need to be added by us, but you can just open a ticket at support@votacall.com and just send us over what you'd like those to be, and we can add those in for you. So those are customizable. Now, one of the things Kyle showed you that I was at lunch, those things can be created by a supervisor. Okay, so if you go into settings here, And then you do have the ability to come in and go to custom statuses, and you can create custom statuses for your folks. Like webinar by default is not on in the system. Lunch is on in the system. Meeting is on in the system. But if you wanted to have one called pizza party, I agree with that. Yeah, you could have one, and you would hit, you would save that. And now you would have, your agents would have the ability to put themselves in the pizza party status, but hopefully, well, I don't know that that's a good one, but we'll, yeah, well, I like pizza too, but well, maybe there's a weekly pizza party at this company, this fictitious company that we're at. Okay, so I just wanted you guys to know that you have that ability as well. So again, a lot of things here. We had something come in, a question about the music on hold. We have a training video on that for how you set that up. It is a fairly new feature. It was added in at the last release, which would have been, Q4 of last year, which means that I know we do actually. We have a new release, probably Q4, if not Q1 of this year. So with some more new features, but that is one of our newer features. So if you go to our website and you go to resources, you can actually go to the Votacall One training, and you'll see that there's a training video on that. Okay, and who knows, maybe we'll do a webinar on it as well. I think it's in the list on the polls, so you guys tell us if you'd like to see more on that music on hold. We think it's a pretty powerful tool, from our retail application, like just changing the daily specials to play on hold at a pizza shop, for instance, for the cause pizza party there, or alternatively, for seasonal information, etc. So, okay.
And
thanks,
also
Kyle.
under resources here's where you can access our previous webinars as well. I just want to make sure I throw that out there. So if you come over to resources on demand webinars, you'll see all of our previous webinars, and you can also register for upcoming webinars. Here's where you can see our previous ones on the call center agent and call center supervisors as well. I'm going to turn off my screen sharing now, and we're going to pull up a couple more slides to share with you folks. All right, so we have a couple call center supervisor customer success stories. The first one is one of our favorites, Vineyard Finds.
Okay, just turning my camera back on here. And forgive me, sorry for the cough. Okay, so Vineyard Vines, client, been with us a long time. If you've been with Votacall a long time, you've probably heard us throw their name around. Obviously, we're pretty psyched that they're a client of ours. Their call center started with us at about 4 or 5 people. And has grown quite a bit since then. We also do all of their retail locations, etc. But from a supervisor perspective, some of the things that they like to use, real-time queue and agent management, right? So Kyle showed you some of that stuff where you can add someone to a queue quickly. Maybe there's a few people, out sick, and you want to just throw a few extra people into the queue. You can do that very quickly and on the fly. Maybe somebody forgot to log out, and you actually just want to go log them out, because you're running the call center. And you know that person went home and they didn't log out. Well, you can just go and log them out of the queue, right? So, and you can do all that in real time, right from the portal. Now, custom agent statuses and dispositions, those give them, let's talk about real life, right? So they have some people do sometimes in the call center will go process returns. So they have an agent status for I'm doing returns right now. So they're logged out, but the supervisor knows exactly what they're logged out to do. Maybe they have lunch. And then from a disposition perspective, just understanding agents dropping dispositions into their queues gives them the ability to know, okay, like how many people called in to do a return, how many people called in to process an order, et cetera. And last is training and coaching tools, where Kyle showed you the ability to jump onto a phone call. And those calls start in listen mode. And then you saw that you have the ability to then jump in and whisper. And in addition to jump in and whisper, you have the ability to barge in or join the call. So maybe someone shoots you a quick text message and says, do you mind starting to listen to this call? I think they're going to ask for a supervisor in a minute, and I want to jump on. So you jump on, and then your agent says, just one moment and I'll grab my supervisor. And now the supervisor goes from listen mode to join call mode and says, hi, Paul, what seems to be happening? And they're on the call and they join that call. Kyle, you want to go to the next one? Okay, so the next one is a company called HESCO. They're an elder support services company, and they're fairly new to the supervisor and the call center environments. They've always had some groups set up, but never really had any supervisor abilities. What they did is they called in and they said, hey, we need to fulfill some SLAs for the state in order to, do some of the funding that we do. And so they were very concerned. They needed to be able to show the state first and foremost, hey, we need to answer this percentage of calls this fast. Right. And so they said, how can we do that? How do we show that to the state? So we started going through reports. And what we realized is that we wanted to add some supervisors. And from there, we wanted to put some dashboards in. So in real time, they could start to view, and the folks answering the calls could start to view in real time what was happening. And then it's not obvious, but they wanted to record calls as well for quality assurance purposes, right? So, so that they could keep records of those calls and make sure that they're meeting the levels and expectations set aside in their SLAs. So SLA, for those who don't know, is service level agreement. A lot of times, we've had some, different people who service different industries, and they have to prove that they answer calls within a certain amount of time in order to keep a contract, or in order to pay, or there's different price points for how well they served the clients, et cetera. So reporting is obviously going to help with that sort of thing as well. All right, next one. Us, right? Votacall. So, we use these tools on a regular basis. It was kind of fun as we were going through this, going, who's another great example, a big user of the call center experience on Votacall. And it was like, well, there's the obvious one, right? We're staring right at it. And that is us. So we use it for workforce management. We can go back multiple years and we've been on the phone system a long time. So we can go back and figure out, how busy are we on Memorial Day, or how busy are we on Thanksgiving week, because we've got some support people asking for time off, and we just need to make sure that we're going to staff correctly. So we can go back and pull some reports on different times and figure out how busy we were over the holidays. I can tell you that the day before Thanksgiving and Thanksgiving are the two slowest days of the year in telecom, traditionally, because people are either traveling or eating. Friday, however, that's a busy day. The first case study I showed you, they do a lot of calls on Black Friday. So the next is skills-based routing. We route calls, and Kyle showed you some of that, where you could prioritize different agents within a queue to say, give them a 1, so they're the first level, a 2, a 3. Well, our tier 4 folks are marked much higher in the tier 1 queue. But if for some reason there was a lot of phone calls coming into the queue and there was a tier 4 agent there, they would get a call, but everybody marked lower than them would have to get the call first. So in a lot of ways, you're routing those calls based on somebody's skills, or there's language routing that you can do, et cetera. So last but not least, queue callback functionality. We added this in, and we think this is a great feature of the phone system, that ability to, let somebody choose. Do they want to wait, or do they want to call back? And I know that's something that, I do it all the time. When I call into JetBlue, I travel a bunch. And so when I call into the JetBlue line, if I need to make a change to a flight, et cetera, it always says, hey, we're busy right now. Would you like us to call you back? And I always say yes. And you know what? They always call me back. So it's a great thing, but we have that functionality built into our support queue as well. So, we're a big user of the phone system as well. Okay. I think that covers that. We did have a question come in about, is there a cost? And again, no. So I know we covered that earlier on, but no, there is not a cost for supervisor. Votacall One is one license, one solution. Just the view needs to be changed. So again, we don't charge. It's not like if you want to have 20 supervisors, you can have 20 supervisors, and there's no additional cost for you. Okay. And that goes for call center agents as well, and all of our other features that we've covered in the past. But if there's something you guys would like to hear about, please fill in that poll. And again, thank you guys all for the questions today. I know Kyle didn't tell you, how do you get a hat? Nobody asked. I was hoping that somebody would say, hey, I want a hat. Because the hats are cool. Or at least we like to think so. But the way that you get a hat is you have to submit a telecom joke. So We'll stay on here for a minute or two. If someone wants to throw a telecom joke in, if they really want to grab one of these hats, by all means, you can do that. Yesterday's telecom joke was pretty tough. But we did ship out a hat yesterday. So, all right, everybody.
What did the cat say when they answered the phone?
Yeah, what did the cat say when they answered the phone, Kyle?
Can you hear meow?
Oh. So bad. All right. So yeah, don't be afraid if you have a terrible, if you have a terrible joke, then it's okay. You can still get a hat. But any questions, anything that you guys want, please email support at votacall.com, or you can go to support.votacall.com to open a ticket. And then there's 2 links there, one for training and then one for the Votacall webinars. However, those can both be found by just going to our website, clicking on resources. You'll see links for both of those there.
You gotta provide a telecom joke.
Provide a telecom joke, Bernadette.
Guess what, Bernadette? I'll send you one anyhow.
All right. See, that's cheating. Okay. Well, thank you for coming, everybody. I appreciate the time. Kyle, you were terrific today. And I look forward to seeing you guys all on the next one.
Thank you very much.
See ya. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.